All right, so today we're going to look at do until loops, and really these are no different than what you saw in Scratch. In Scratch they were just called repeat until, and remember this little hexagon shape here is going to be like something like repeat until time equals 0 or balls caught equals 50 or something like that, right? Scratch or Liberty Basic, exactly the same thing. These are referred to as an indefinite loop. Why? Because you don't know how many times it's going to go through. It's just going to keep going until something happens. Okay, you don't know how many times it's going to go around. Okay, so this is an undefined length loop or an indefinite loop. All right, so often you need to loop until a certain condition is met. You saw that in Scratch. This loops for an undetermined period of time. Be useful in the guess the number game because you would keep guessing until you get it right. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? You keep guessing until you get it right. Oh, there's the answer right there. Keep guessing until the answer is right. Okay? So here would be the pseudocode for that. Are we watching, lads? So we would pick the random number, and we would do until the answer is right. And notice that I even indented here my pseudocode here. I get the guess from user. I add 1 to my guess count. What do you think guess count is? Number of guesses, exactly. How long it's taken you to complete it. Check the guess against the correct number. And if it's right, well then you can stop doing the loop. And if it's wrong, then you simply continue looping. And when you're all done the loop, you display the number of guesses to get the correct answer. Maybe a high score kind of thing or something like that. Okay, so what does the syntax look like? It's pretty straightforward. It says do at the top of the loop. And then you put all the code inside and it's indented, and at the bottom you put loop until. So you will notice that the condition, the check, is at the bottom. When we did it in Scratch, where was the check? At the top. Right? Little bit different. Okay? It checks right at the top. In Liberty, it checks not until the bottom. So it, in fact, will do whatever's inside the loop once. It's guaranteed to do it once. And that's a huge difference. Okay, there's another loop called a while loop that doesn't automatically do it once. So big, big difference. Do until always does the loop at least once. My, what a wonderful test question, he says to himself. Okay, so for example, counting to 100 with a do until. So x equals 1. You could plug in there if you want to. X equals 1. Do print x. X equals x plus 1. What's that called when I take a value and add something onto it? Starts with an A. Anybody remember? It's called an accumulator. Okay, because the x is accumulating value. X equals x plus 1. So I'm going to do this until x equals 101. Now how come I have to have 101 there? How come I don't have 100 if I'm counting to 100? Well, when it prints 100, the next time it's going to jump up to 101, and that's when I want it to stop. If I had my print and my x equals x plus 1 reversed, well then I might have been able to put 100 there, right? So watch out for stuff like that. And here's the note I was talking about before. Do loop until always performs the loop at least once. So very important. Okay, so here's the code. How about you guys spend a few minutes typing that in? This is the guess the number one using a do loop until. And I'll let you guys type that in. So you can see how the do until works. So the first thing it does is it picks a random number. Now, did anyone pick up on what's going on here? There's something a little bit different here. It doesn't have the plus 1. So in fact, it's going to pick a random number between 0 and 99. So I really should have a plus 1 there. Okay? Then it prints, pick a number between 1 and 10. And then I do. So right away, it doesn't check the condition. It just goes ahead and does it. It does the loop regardless. So it inputs what is your guess. That should be a your. Okay? It calls your answer guess. Then it adds 1 to guess count automatically. Guess count equals guess count plus 1. And it loops until guess equals number. Will this work if you get it right the very first time? Will it have the correct number of guesses? Yes, because what's the value of guess count the first time through? It's 0 actually, right? I probably should have in here somewhere guess count equals 0 just to be specific. I should probably have something like this. It's not needed, it will run without, but it's probably good practice to do that just so that someone else is looking at it, they see that it's equals 0. We're going to loop until guess equals number. The only way out of the loop is if you get it right. So you could guess forever. Although there's only 100 numbers, so hopefully it wouldn't take you more than 100 times. What would make the game easier? If it did the higher or lower thing, right? I wonder if that's the next thing. Yes, it is. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take that example, and I'd like you to add to it so that it tells the user whether they are too high or too low. So where would you do that? Right after the input? Somewhere in here, exactly. So go ahead and add that in here. If guess is less than number, then print, and else print, and so on. Give you a few minutes. So how would you go about this? Let me first cut and paste this into Liberty for me, myself here. Okay, there's my code. Where do I do this if? Nick suggests right there. Is that the right place, Nick? Okay, so you'd have if guess is bigger than number, then make sure you indent. Lance, what do we do here? If guess is bigger than number, then print. What do I print? Something like that. Too big. Guess again. Do I need another if, or can I use else? I can use else because it's either going to be too big or too small. Well, let's just see here. Is this going to work? And how do I end it? End if. Okay, well, let's run it and see what happens. What is my guess? I'm smart. I'm going to guess 50. Too small. 75. Too small. 85. Too small. 90. Too small. 96 is too big. 94 is too big.
91.
Yay. Too small.
Now, what's up with this? It says too small guess again, and then put yes, that took 8 guesses. Because I used the else. What do I have to do to make it right? Because it's not the automatic. There's 3 options. It could be bigger than, it could be less than, or it could be equal. So you really need this. And because you've got a double if, guess what? Will this work? I'll pause. Let's run it and see what happens. I got a syntax error. Can I do else if as one thing? It highlighted it nice for me. Will that work? No. Okay, so I'm going to have to do it like this, aren't I? That's one way to do it. The other way to do it would be to just have an end if here, just have 2 separate ifs, right? Either one is fine. 50, too small. 75, too big. 65, too big. 60, too small. 62. And it works. Is the 5 guesses right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Any other ways that I could test it? The only thing I haven't covered is if the person stupidly picks a number that's not between 1 and 100. Probably should do that, but really not that big of a deal, right? Okay, that's good. Everybody good? Okay. So here's hand in number 7. This is hand in. You are to write a program that has a starting point for blackjack. The project is going to be blackjack or 21. Okay, this is just the starting point. You're going to make the starter code. Use a do loop until. The game is to see how close you can get to 21 without going over. Travis, you're listening because you have earbuds in. I need them out, please. Okay? So the game is to see how close you can get to 21 without going over. Use a do until the user quits. Okay? So it would be like do until the user says they don't want any more cards, right? Or they bust. Pick a random number between 1 and 10 each time just to make it simple. And keep track of the total and the number of cards taken or the number of guesses. Okay? It should look something like this. Your first card is a 6. Enter a 1 for a new card or a 0 to quit. I select 1. I get a new card. I get a 3. My total is 9. Why is it 9? Travis, you're not watching. 6 plus 3 is 9. I want a new card. I enter a 1. I get a new card. It's another 9, or it's a 9. 9 plus 9 is now 18. I've decided I've had enough. I press 0 to quit. I took 3 cards for a total of 18. Not really a game yet. It's just the starter package for blackjack, okay? Because eventually we're going to have to add in the dealer. They do the same thing, and then we see which one is bigger. Okay, we're going to get to that. All you need to do is set up this little bit of code that allows you to guess until you quit by entering a 0, or if you bust. If you go over 21, then you print something like you bust. And I think that might even be my next sample run. No, it's not. Okay, so you need to hand in pseudocode. Be sure to do error handling if the person enters anything but a 0 or 1. If they do not enter a 0 or 1 here, you say, hey, 0 or 1. No other option. Because if they do enter something different, it's going to crash on you, right? So you need to error handling. Okay? And there's a bonus here if you want to write it in Scratch as well, but for now, just worry about writing it in Liberty. Okay? So I'm going to leave that sample run up there like that. You are using a do until the user quits or busts. Okay? And it's all on that sheet that I've given you as well. Good luck.